Okay, yeah, that's my internet being crap. Hello, everybody. Welcome along back to another video. We have big breaking news to bring you. Jon Brady has been appointed as first team manager of the Cobblers. The first thing that I want to say before we get into anything is we want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. I know that's pretty useless at the minute because we want to get you to try and come in the stream and let us know what you make of it. I'm going to post the link in the comments section in a minute when Will's talking. We've already got a guest in the studio. He goes by the name of Charles Commins from the It's All Cobblers to Me podcast. I mean, I at least think that's Charles. I haven't looked actually who it is. Yeah, it's Charles. So we're going to get Charles in just a few minutes. So Charles, if you can hear us, just hang back in the studio for a minute. I'm still frantically trying to get myself sorted. It's that classic situation of when you need something
poor, so poor.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a link to the stream, post it in the comments, and if you want to come and give your thoughts and tell us what you make of it, please do. So yeah, Will, we'll start with you. If you just want to read us kind of the statement, I know you've got the Cobblers website open. If you want to just let us know what it says in there, we'll get your opinion, we'll get my opinion, then we'll get Charles in to have a chat.
Coolio, right. I don't know, actually see who's in the chat, so let me get the comments up. Here we go, lovely. Right, so the statement basically reads that the Cobblers have appointed Jon Brady as the new manager, so Mark Richards will remain the new first-team coach, and they are looking to appoint a new assistant manager. Me and Matt did speak beforehand that, of course, Jon Brady and Dean Austin did have a good relationship, so potentially maybe Dean Austin could return to the Cobblers. And it basically just says about a massive statement, the club saying, Jon has impressed us with our work so far as caretaker charge. All the statistics have shown a massive improvement with the players. We score more goals, concede fewer. I wouldn't agree with that, but our points per game is higher and our performance has been better. We were disappointed to not avoid relegation, but I'm seeing improvements in the team. And they spoke a lot about the new structure, about the linking the academy and the first team together, which of course makes sense to see why they've appointed Jon Brady. A lot cheaper option as well, I think personally as well. Of course, with COVID and whatnot, keeping Jon Brady is a lot cheaper. And a full statement on the website just is about Dan Watson will remain. Ian Sampson will go back to the head of youth development role. So it'll be interesting. Jon Brady says he's going to give it all, and of course he's going to give it all. You know what, every manager would say that, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. And like Matt said, we've just seen Matt put the comment in the stream. So if you want to come on and give your thoughts, I'd love to hear them because I think Charles is in the studios as well, like you said, Matt. So we'll get him on, and it'll be interesting because I think it's an interesting one. I think Dean Austin deserved it when he got it, and then he flopped. Jon Brady deserved it, but I think we should have really learned from our mistakes, really. But I hope it proves us wrong. But I think another element as well is transfers. It'll be harder to sign players because Jon Brady's not, well known. I think Keith Curle managed to get a few players through the door because he knew him. Like Nicky Adams came back to the Cobblers because of his relationship with Keith Curle. No one really has a relationship with Jon Brady unless they play for Brackley whenever he managed him, 10 years ago. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Adam Page just thought it'll be interesting to see if Dave Buchanan comes as the new assistant manager. I think he still wants to play, doesn't he? And I think he just did a journalism degree, didn't he? So I don't think he wants to go into management. I could be wrong, though. But, yeah, there's my kind of statement. I'm not going to read the full statement because we'll be here for 10 minutes. So if you want to look, just go on the website. But, yeah, basically all it says is he really wants to give everything he's got. Basically, they've appointed him because of the new structure, which makes sense. And who's staying in what job, who's going to what job. And they'll appoint a new assistant manager within the next couple of weeks. And yeah, so interesting. Lee Gray says not and against him being given him a chance, definitely tried to get them playing right way, but it's a poor squad to go with. I do question about decision making. Yeah, his substitutions have been quite poor. It's gonna be interesting. I think it's gonna be such interesting next season now with him. Can't believe they've appointed him before the Sunderland game. I thought they'd appointed after, but yeah. So yeah.
Right. Good stuff. I've sorted my life out now. I think I've got everything. The comment description. So yeah, if anybody wants to come and share your thoughts, you don't have to. But if you want to, hit the link that's pinned in the comments. Just type in your name, set up your phone in a reasonable position, and then you'll be able to come on and say what you think. Or like a lot of you are already doing, tell us what you think in the comments. If you haven't left a like on the stream, I've got that the wrong way around. If you haven't left a like on the stream, please do. If you're not subscribed to the channel and you're a Cobblers fan, please do. My opinion on it is, I'm delighted for Brady. I quoted the Cobbler's tweet with that kind of emoji. I still think we should have just given somebody that knows how to get out of this league and kind of chuck that at them. But we're giving Brady a go. We're taking a risk. It won't be a risk worth taking if we're in the National League this time next season, but I don't think we will be.
No.
I just don't think. I guess this is kind of building for the long term. Let's get Charles in then, because we've left him waiting for long enough. Hopefully he comes into the studio. Let's add him to the screen. There we go. Come on. There we go. Hello, Charles. Welcome along. This is Charles from the It's All Cobblers to Me podcast. Those of you that listen to the podcast have probably heard me and Will on there a lot, but haven't seen Charles on our screens very much, simply because we've not really had the opportunity to get him on. So, Charles, thank you very much for joining us. First of all, your initial reaction to the appointment of Jon Brady as Cobbler's boss, please.
I'm annoyed, boys. I'm really annoyed. I am. It's interrupted my day of watching Line of Duty. So annoyed. My initial reaction is, I
agree.
I'm just right. It's really, really hard because the club, they can't win, because there will be a percentage of fans who will be, this is amazing, I'm so pleased with this appointment, it's great. But then there will also be a percentage of the fans that will be like, oh no, that's short-sighted, or it's the cheap option, or it's, it's meh, whatever. And it doesn't matter what the club do, there will always be people that will be turning around and having those exact same reactions. So the club can't win. You're never going to please every single person, every single thing, with every single thing you do. We've obviously been on WhatsApp, so Neil, Danny and I and Chezzy in our WhatsApp group, and just sort of saying that it's definitely the cheap option. It was coming because of this whole, the statements in the week about the structural changes and the committee. Essentially they've set up a parish council within the football club so that they can decide on the direction. I know it's being a bit silly saying that, but I mean it feels very. It's really just. I don't know what to sort of really do about it. I saw it coming a mile off, as most people will have done. I'm really pleased that there are things that are being put in place at the club that is different to what has gone before and hasn't worked before. But you could at the same time argue quite easily that, over the past however long, let's say 20 years, we have gone and played well enough to get promoted from League Two on a number of occasions. So it's not that it's completely broken what was happening last time, because, it worked on a few occasions. I get this whole thing about the fact that had, the League Two season last year been stopped when it did, or had it carried on rather, would we have ended up in the playoffs? I said exactly the same thing. I doubt we would have got promotion. But the fact is that we did. And that we did perform well enough to get into that position to then go and play in the playoffs and win them and earn that chance in League One. And I don't really like it when fans just look to bash the club or the manager at the time in Keith Curle and say that, well, he's still rubbish. You're just like that going, well, hang on a minute. You were all really happy on that night after Wembley, that win. Yeah, nobody was turning around and having a pop at the club or the manager or the players then. And yet, okay, yes, afterwards, it's all of this has happened. We've had a terrible year in League One. It's not been good enough. I don't fully blame one individual for that. It's a collective responsibility of a lot of things that have gone wrong or not been done the right way, potentially or possibly. So I'm glad that they're addressing it, but I just think that, I don't know, get somebody in that is a new manager-ish, maybe. So not the same old names. You don't want the same old lot that are on the merry-go-round constantly. So Jon Brady isn't one of those, but at the same time, I'd have liked to have seen somebody that I don't know that does do well. So somebody like Derek Adams, who has done a fantastic job with Morecambe this season, obviously did very well with Plymouth before that as well. Your friends, Matt, and yeah, I'd have liked to have seen someone like that. So somebody that is up and coming. So not somebody that is, has been in the game as a manager for 20 years and has failed more often than they've succeeded. Essentially like Keith Curle was. My worry is, and I think it's already been mentioned before in your intro, is this Dean Austin situation? The cynical part of me will say, well, at least it won't cost much to sack him in September after we've lost the first 10 games.
I was saying to Adam Page a lot I speak to him on a regular on social media, and he was saying this isn't going to be the repeat of Dean Austin. This is different. And I suppose the reason why I'm not so elated about it is simply because of obviously how bad we've been this season, and also because last time we did this, it simply just didn't work, and Dean Austin wasn't like Jon Brady in terms of that he was he knew everything about the club. He loves the county and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't really buy into that kind of crap, to be honest, in terms of, he loves the town, he loves this, he should be here. I don't know what you make of it, Will, in terms of that whole he loves the club, given the job, that kind of feel.
Yeah, no, it's hard, isn't it?
A repeat of Austin.
Yeah, because Dean Austin said he loved the club, and every manager that comes to the club, they have the. Austin will get the assistant. I'm on the call, Johnny. So 1 second, mate. So my brother. What was I saying? Yeah, I just think every manager when they come to the club, their cliche comments is, they love the club and all this and blah blah blah. Don't get me wrong, Jon Brady has the passion and will want the Cobblers to go to that next step, but it will just be that worry that we will just do what we did with Dean Austin, and it is that worry. I think. Don't get me wrong, Jon Brady, if any manager was to love the Cobblers more, it would be Jon Brady, because, he's been here, 5-6 years, and he just loves the Cobblers. And so does Rico. They all love the Cobblers. They all want us to do well. But at the end of the day, they don't have that experience. Jon Brady couldn't get Brackley out of the Conference North. So how is he going to get Northampton Town out of League Two? It's that kind of, don't get me wrong, we have done so much better under him. But it's going to just take time. I think it'll be interesting to see with the retain list and who his assistant is, who we bring in and stuff like that. But, again, like Charles said, if he does go wrong, I guess it is a lot cheaper. But then again, I don't, because if he does go wrong, then we've lost him completely. And I think he's a really good guy with the academy because he's produced a lot of players. We lose him. I think we lost Dean Austin. Okay, he was just our assistant manager. But Jon Brady's been here years. He's developed these young players. And if we get rid of him, he's gone. I don't think they'll just give him his job back in the academy. So he's chose that. They probably told him that, and that's been his decision. But I think it's just kind of the waiting game to see who comes in and whatnot.
I think the only way, I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head, and I saw Charles was nodding along as well. That the only way Brady gets his academy job back is if he'd have not got the job this season and would have gone back there now. Because I don't think they may even come out and say that he's still going to get his academy job back if he gets.
Yeah, but they'll have to employ. They're going to employ, and they're definitely going to employ a new under-18s manager. And it wouldn't be fair on whoever gets the new job as the under-18s manager to go, you're going to have it until Brady does bad, and then we'll sack you and give Brady his old job back. It's not going to happen. When Brady flops, if he flops, he'll go. That will be it. Yeah, exactly. So I think
we've got.
I think he took that. On board. So
we've already got some negativity in the chat. Paul Evans just going Brady out, lol, already. Craig West, who I know listens to Charles's podcast and watches us as well. Brady comes across as a great bloke, but I've got the same concern. This is Austin Part 2. Charles, Will mentioned about he couldn't even get Brackley out of the conference, so how's he going to get Northampton out of League Two? And we've kind of seen at times this season when he's been in charge that there's been a little bit of naivety, maybe with some of his team selection, some of the substitutions he's made, some of the tactical decisions he's made. Do you think that's going to play a part next season in League Two?
Time will tell, won't it, really, on that? I think, because I don't want to just be negative Nancy all the way through this. I am pleased for Jon Brady, and I am pleased that we've now got a future announced and that it's there. The timing of it is strange. It's a surprise that it's come out, just as, or what was it, just basically at the full-time whistle of all the League Two games.
Yeah.
We then announced, Jon Brady, we're playing tomorrow. The cynic inside me says, maybe they want to sell some iFollow passes. But I think that it's one of those where if you look at all the statistics, then I think somebody said to me last week that if you just took the league table from the moment Jon Brady started to that point, I think this would have been before the game kicks off last week, then we would be 16th. Yeah. So there has been an improvement and there is better results than what we'd had before. And obviously, on the whole, I think the games have been more enjoyable to watch than they were before as well, which was a huge factor in many fans' dislike of Keith Curle and his team. I do think that there were weird substitutions and weird team selections for me. However, there will be reasons for those. And I think some of those reasons have been, addressed, just maybe not sort of put in front of everybody's face and said, there they are. The fact that essentially, I mean, look, Kioso and Mills aren't going to be playing tomorrow. Kioso's gone back. I mean, pretty much they were all playing through injuries. So there's your reason for why we didn't give other players maybe either a rest or bring other players in. That's one thing. So that also might explain some of the substitutions, like not happening until quite late in the game because the players that he's bringing on are injured and can't do more than maybe 10, 15 minutes. So that's potentially reasons for those kind of things. I think the other thing, actually, I think the thing with like Caleb Chukwuemeka, for example, a lot of people have been saying, well, something's clearly going on there as to why he's not being given a first team starting role more than like twice. That may well be down to and explained by something else that was said earlier this week with these structural changes being announced, which is that he's come through our youth system playing one style of football. And then all of a sudden the first team play it completely different. So he's earned himself the deal that he's on, which I know is like a youth team deal or whatever it is at the moment. He earned himself that deal through playing well for the youth team in a particular style of football and a particular, way of playing the game. Come into the first team and suddenly it's a different type of game. So, and, we've all watched him play. Going forward, he looks a threat. But as soon as he doesn't have the ball, he's not interested. He's not that kind of player. He won't track back. Or at least, I say he won't track back. He won't track back and be effective when he's tracking back. He'll run back. He'll do the running up and down. But essentially, he's not going to actually go in there and harass or try and tackle a player and win the ball back. That's not him. So he doesn't fit into our style of play as it has been, as it has had to been. So therefore, these changes may well mean that we now start to see the Cobblers, hopefully, first of all, recruiting this summer to bring players in that will fit the Jon Brady style of play that he has been playing with the under-18s. If he does that, or I say the club do that, then I think Brady will be successful. The issue is that will that style of play work in League Two? Because that is going to be the big question mark, is that do you need somebody like, and I hate to say it, but do you need somebody like a Keith Curle to get you out of that division? Now, there's plenty of arguments for and against me saying that. I'm not particularly in one camp or the other on it. But there is definitely an argument to turn around and say, does the most attractive, football style team win the division every year? That doesn't necessarily happen. It's the team that wins the most games that will win the league. So that's what Keith Curle always used to basically look at and say, wasn't it? That essentially, first thing is to win the game. Worry about what it looks like afterwards. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So I am looking forward to watching what should be entertaining matches next season. I hope they're not quite as open as what we saw under Dean Austin. Dean Austin was a little bit too gung-ho. And don't get me wrong,
Agree.
I've never watched an under-18s match that Jon Brady was in charge of. I've seen some highlights. They always looked, and good goals and stuff like that. But I've never watched a whole match, so I can't really comment on exactly what to expect. But he's going to have to take, and I think the club will have to take a little bit of stick from the fan base if we're not up there looking at chasing promotion next season. I would have preferred in the week if the club had turned out, and I appreciate that there's a commercial reason for why they don't do this, but I'd have actually rather have seen the club turn around and say, look, we're going to give a budget for, that will be within, I don't know, let's say top 10 of League Two. And then say, but we might have to be patient with this. I mean, they tried saying that. He said about being patient, and it might, but then in the next sentence turn around and said, we'll be looking to get promoted. And it's like, well, you're now going against what you said. You've told us to be patient, but then in the next breath, you said the aim is to get promoted. So therefore, if we're going to be looking at it and going, well, it doesn't look like we're going to be promoted, we're not going to be patient, because we're basing our patience, we're basing what we want to see the club doing on what the club have said their aim is. So either the club keep quiet and don't say anything about bouncing back and all this sort of stuff, or they turn around and be honest and just go with the thing of going, look, we would love to get promoted, of course we would. However, we're trying to go into a transition and we're trying to change things at the football club. So therefore, we're going to have a little bit of patience. There's a 2-year deal for Jon Brady. That suggests to me that, one, he's being told that the aim is to get promoted within 2 years. And two, it basically says, well, it's not a huge deal because you're giving him 2 years. So I don't think he's on that much money, essentially.
No.
I don't see him being on a massive amount. No. But I do think the appointment is good in respect to getting all of that sort of stuff sorted out, and getting that, style of play or philosophy, whatever you want to call it, then going all the way through the club. I think that would be good. I'm sceptical as to whether we'll see more youth teamers breaking through into the first team and staying there, though. I think that there's a massive gap between the under-18s and the first team, and that gap will only be closed by the creation of a under-23s or a reserve team, which we probably can't afford to do.
Well, it's certainly an interesting point, and I think the whole club restructuring thing, if Charles, you don't mind staying with us for a little bit longer, we're going to come on to in just a moment. We have got some guests waiting in the studio to come and give their opinions. We're going to get them in and get their thoughts. Charles, if you don't mind staying with us, that would be awesome. If you need to shoot off, that's fine. Just let us know. But we want to keep you with us because you're a knowledgeable guy and you know what you're talking about. We're going to get some guests in. We've got a few in the queue. We've got a few in the queue. If I can actually open it. There we go. Oh my God, we've got 3 people waiting. We're going to get in Josh White first because he was the first one to appear. Josh White, he's in his Cobbler shirt. In he comes, hopefully.
We're here. We're here. Hello.
There we go.
Josh, hello. How are you, my
Hello.
friend? Welcome along. First of all, you've obviously seen the news, otherwise you wouldn't be here if you hadn't. Let us know, what's your initial reaction to the appointment of Jon Brady as the Cobblers boss?
It's a difficult one because on one hand you want someone who has experience in League Two and getting teams out of League Two, but on the other hand I am happy because we've just appointed someone who's very passionate about the club. He's been here sort of 5 years. He's obviously done a great job with the under-18s, with the likes of Chukwuemeka coming through, Pollock. I mean, Morgan Roberts coming through didn't really do much, but I think it's a good appointment, and as Charles said, it's only 2 years, so that suggests to me potentially just stabilising us in League Two, given the current situation around the world. Obviously got COVID going on, and it wouldn't be ideal if we do something similar to Southend, which is one of the worries I have with going down. Obviously, the Southend situation isn't good. They're obviously in the National League now. It just wouldn't be good if we did something like that. So I think this appointment is just to stabilise us a little bit in League Two. I've spoken to a couple of fans who sort of want us to bounce straight back up. And I'm just sort of thinking, hang on a second. You get relegated from League One, and you look at the likes of Southend that have gone down this season. Chesterfield, when they went down a couple seasons ago, they're in the National League, and they've really struggled to get back up. So again, appointing Jon Brady sort of is a sort of stabilisation of us in League Two, I think. But I think we've appointed someone who has a lot of passion for the club and a lot of desire to succeed.
Josh, if you were Kelvin Thomas, you were sat in his position and you had a decision to make, what would you have done? Would you have got Brady in, or would you have gone like Charles and Will have both suggested to get somebody in? Go to Derek Adams and say, "Come on, and how much money do you want?" And we'll get us out of this league, kind of thing. What would you have done if you were Kelvin Thomas?
Again, it's a difficult one because you've got to. We don't know the money situation with the club. I mean, you look at it. You get relegated from League One, especially in the COVID pandemic, you're not going to make a profit. You're going to make a loss. So it's a difficult one to say, but, let's say money wasn't an object. The pandemic didn't happen. You'd look at someone like Derek Adams or maybe even Phil Parkinson, who's been out of work for a couple of years, did a great job at Bradford. People like that, you want to look for someone with experience coming out of League Two.
Probably not after what he did to us. Was he the Bradford manager when we lost him at Wembley? He wasn't he?
Oh, he was.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, so can't get him in.
God,
just not
that
Phil
day.
Parkinson. No, God no.
Yeah.
Not him.
I
He's another
heard that name
merry-go-round
about-
manager.
I did hear that name bandied about a little bit when Keith Curle was sacked, but obviously Jon Brady, I think, has done enough though to sort of earn it. And as I said, 2-year deal, it's not long term, which is actually quite good to see.
Got a question for you, Josh. One worry that I said at the start was, of course, with Jon Brady, recruiting players might be a bit difficult in the way that, when we had Keith Curle, like, for example, Nicky Adams came back to the Cobblers because of the relationship with Keith Curle. Jon Brady has none of them relationships with any of the players. Do you worry that recruitment might be hindered by that?
Again, you look at the new sort of committee they've formed. It includes the likes of Ian Sampson, and I think one of the big people involved in there, which will be actually quite crucial in the recruitment process, is Graham Carr. Look at he was head scout at Newcastle, brought in some good players there. He will be very, very key in the recruitment process and the scouting. So for me, the worries are sort of put to one side because of that. Again, if we didn't have this sort of committee, I would be quite worried with the recruitment. But, the likes of Graham Carr will really help with that, I think.
I think if you're in the game... Sorry, Will. I was going to say, if you're in the game, then you know people in the game. It's the same as, in work. I make podcasts for a living. Therefore, I know lots of people that work for the BBC making podcasts, and I know lots of people that make them independently for other production companies. You meet people. Just because he was the under-18s manager doesn't mean that he doesn't have a list of contacts. So I don't think that's necessarily something to ever be worried about, because that's a normal kind of thing. Whatever trade you're in, you will always know other people in the trade, and you'll always have contacts. So I wouldn't worry too much about that side of things.
And I suppose people may see it as, I know it sounds a bit silly, but they may see it as a bigger club in League Two, maybe as a bit more of an attractive option, but then Brady as manager could maybe bring that down a little bit. Josh, thank you very much for coming on. If you want to stay with us, please do. If you need to shoot off, that's not a problem, but thank you for coming on and giving us your thoughts. We're going to get somebody else in now because we've still got 2 people in the queue. George is going to come on. I think it's just going to be audio only from George. But we're going to get him in, see what he thinks about the situation. I am trying to add into the stream. My phone's just being unbelievably slow, as it always is.
Poor for Matt. Matt, you've got to upgrade your performance, mate. That's what I'm
poor.
It's poor, isn't it?
His quality is absolutely shocking.
Right, George is here. There we go. George, welcome along. He's one of our loyal subscribers. He joins us every week for Cobblers to the Prem. What do you make of the appointment of Jon Brady, George?
I mean, if I'm honest, it's not that good. It's like, yeah, like you say, Dean Austin situation is kind of like that. It's like he's not got any relationships to any players. He's an academy manager, and like, if I was Kelvin Thomas, I would get someone else in, like Derek Adams. What he's done with what he's done with Morecambe's very good. Got him 1 point off automatics. Like he's a manager what can get us out of League Two and establish us in League One. With not being a yo-yo team going up from League Two and coming down from League One.
And you mentioned you'd prefer to get Derek Adams in. How do you think Jon Brady will do with us in League Two next season? Where do you see this football club finishing in League Two?
I mean, I don't think we're going to be in a relegation battle like Southend.
No.
We'll be a playoff contender, but we'll be around mid-table. That's what I think. Yeah.
Good stuff. And what's to blame this season in terms of the way we've got relegated? Is it the fact we sacked Keith Curl too late? Is it the recruitment? Is it lack of investment? What's gone wrong this season for the Cobblers?
I think it's the players what we've bring in, because we've bring in conference players and League Two players. Like we've not really bring in any League One players, so we're kind of a League Two team in League One. And Keith, we kind of sacked Keith Cole a bit too late.
And my last question to you is, obviously the Cobblers play their last game in League One for God knows how long. It could be a year, it could be 10 years. Sunderland away, are you going to be watching the game? And how do you think it's going to go tomorrow for the Cobblers?
I probably wouldn't watch it. I'll probably just sit at home listening to it on the radio. Like we're already relegated, nothing to play for. My dad's probably not going to waste a tenner. Sunderland will probably beat us like 3-0 like Blackpool.
Fair enough. Well, George, thank you very much for coming on, and thank you for your fantastic support in the channel. I will keep you on. We've got another guest to come on, and I can only fit 4 people on the screen at once, unfortunately. So thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for your support on the channel as well.
Right.
Cool. Cheers. See you soon, mate. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, we've got another fan coming now. It's Ben White. I think it's all squashed up, so I'm going to assume his name is Ben White because it says NWHI. Again, I'm frozen on Charles's face for some reason. Like, there we go. Guess that's right, and get Ben in. Once we've spoken to Ben and got his initial reaction, we're going to come back to the conversation we were having with Charles and try and get some of Josh's input on that as well, and talk a little bit about what the future is for this football club and where we're going to finish in League Two season and the whole restructuring thing that's been announced this week. I'm trying my best to get you in, Ben, but I've made it quite public how bad my
poor Matt. This is ridiculous,
Shut up,
Matt.
Shut up.
It's just shocking. Absolutely shocking.
Shut up. Right, Ben should be in. Ben, can you hear me? There
Hello.
he is.
Hello, I can hear.
How are you doing? Ben? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not bad. Calm down, I think.
And how are you feeling about the appointment of Jon Brady as Cobbler boss?
It's another, for me, it's just another underwhelming appointment that it just doesn't show any desire anyway. And obviously I can't blame anyone but Kelvin for that. I've not looked at any of the appointments that he has made into the club for managerial appointments and thought, wow, this really shows a promise of trying to move us forward as a football club. I don't even think it was the case with Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. I didn't. All I thought that was we'll bring in a big name to see if that does anything. He's Burton and that's it. And that's where I am with this now. It's becoming farcical from Kelvin Thomas. Obviously, I'll give not Keith Cole, what is it? Jon Brady, sorry. I'll give him the time that I always give a manager. I'll give him the 10 games at the start of the season. But if I don't, we're doing well enough after 10 games, then I'm really going to be quite angry at it. I'm not happy at all at the moment.
So you've put this. You're kind of putting this down to as it sounds to me as you're very fed up with this football club at the moment, and you're very fed up with one man in particular, and that's Kelvin Thomas. What are you putting this season down to then? If it is Kelvin Thomas you're blaming, is it his recruitment? Is it his lack of investment? What went wrong this season, and why have you kind of lost the love for Kelvin Thomas?
Obviously, there will always be the part of me that admires and respects Kelvin Thomas for coming into the club and saving us in the way he did back in the 2015 season. That will never go away. But I think obviously after that, we want to be able to try and become a club that can stabilise ourselves in League One instead of sort of floating about at the bottom of League One and then having some good season. It gets bored after a while, and obviously, I mean, I'm always going to support the club. I've never not support the club. I've supported since I was like 3 or 4, and that will never go away from me. I think the difficulty we've had this season is we've had a manager in Keith Cole that could tactic in the game. We have then brought Jon Brady in, who for maybe 4 or 5 games, it looked like actually the tables are going to turn here. We've started to score goals. That game against Milton Keynes was probably the first sign of us turning it round. But really, after those first sort of 4 or 5 games, we just petered out again, and we just looked like a team defeated. And if we did go behind, we never really looked like getting back into a game. It was just no ability to change tactics, and I did feel that was the same under Brady. Obviously, we need him to have a transfer window and see what his own players. But again, like a lot of people are saying, I just worry that he's not going to have the same kind of contacts that a Phil Parkinson and Derek Adams would have, because he's not had experience in the league. Yes, he had a brilliant time at Brackley, but with no disrespect, that's Brackley Town in a very, very different league than we're in.
So I'm going to bring Charles and Josh back in, and Will as well, because obviously Will's probably one of them. He's supposed to be the co-host. He's not really said anything for about half an hour. Ben, before I go to Will, Charles, and Josh, what needs to happen? What needs to happen over the summer to get us back out of League Two? Obviously, you can't change the fact that Brady's been appointed as manager. What now needs to happen to make sure that we're back in League One as soon as possible?
I think the only positive thing is the fact that it is the manager. So I'm hoping, I doubt it will, but I'm hoping to sign that Commins is willing to get a decent transfer budget to find quality players for Leagues 1 and 2 to try and get us back into League 1. It's time of asking. Obviously, I doubt that is the reason. I personally feel he's just taken the cheap option, much like he did with Dean Austin. Really did not work at all. But like he is willing to give a decent transfer budget and bring in some quality players for this division to try and get us back in to League One again.
And what play style do you go with? Charles mentioned earlier that there's the Keith Cole way was. Charles mentioned earlier the Keith Cole way was to just do what you can to get out, to win the game. Forget about how it goes afterwards. Do we go back to that kind of style under Brady, or do you think we stick with how it is, where we get kind of? I know Charles said that this is a direct quote from Charles's podcast, where it's 2 or 3 more passes before we give the ball away.
Yeah, I think it's obviously easy. them. We need to to gel. I think that's the key thing, and we need a manager that's got the ability to bring players in. That quality players. Do we want the best squad that we put 22, however many the squad that the fella going to squad next season? We don't need every single one of the best players. Don't use even the best players from these leagues. We just need players that can gel, and I think we need somebody who can see. Obviously, we need somebody that can see which players can play style of play. He will have his own style of play. We don't want him to be just playing the same style of street. Like we want Brady will have his own style of football. So, like I say, it just needs to bring in players that can play to that level. That's the thing is to be playing. That's the only thing that we don't want.
Okay, let's move the conversation on to Will, and then if Will wants to pass it on to Charles. Will, what needs to happen to get the Cobblers back into League One over the summer?
There's a lot of things, isn't there? Like, you know, the first thing, of course, the retain list to see who stays and who goes and who we bring in and whatnot. And I think the assistant manager might play a part in as well with experience and whatnot. So yeah, it's a lot of things, isn't it? You know, bringing in the right players to fit Jon Brady's style. I think with Keith Cole, when we did get promoted, the start wasn't the first 10 games were horrible. And then people wanted Curl out, and then we started winning a load of games and pushing up. So it does look like it's like a recruitment and kind of like a slow play, you know, pace. Sorry. Like, you know, ideally, you know, we want to go straight back up, but I don't think we'll go straight back up. It'll be interesting to see. I think it's just, you know, we need to bring in the correct players. And I with this, you know, this recruitment committee or, you know, whatever it is, they should have no excuses now. They can't blame anything now. You know, they could have, you know, all these past things they can have a go at and stuff, but they have no excuses now with this this committee. So you know, the recruitment's important, and then just getting off to a winning start will be great. But then if we don't get off to a winning start, then as long, you know, we just gotta. It's just, you know, it's going to take a lot of time to get used to and stuff. But if Brady brings in the players he wants and lets go his players that, you know, like Kean Bolger, you know, players who he thinks aren't good enough and whatnot, and it'll be interesting. But I think one thing that has shocked me was, of course, when Brady did get the job, he hasn't really played that many academy players, which I thought he would have done. You know, he hasn't really gave Chukwuemeka a go. And we did speak about Chukwuemeka, didn't we, earlier? And I think he's weird. I think it's a weird situation with Caleb, because I think, well, I have him on social media and he does act like he's one of them kind of youngsters who's made it kind of thing and doesn't really care. I think there's probably stuff going on behind the scenes with Caleb that he's not got the correct mindset to be a footballer, and I think he thinks that he's made it and he's got all this attention, this media attention. I think so. If he did go, I wouldn't be too disheartened really, but yeah, I think a lot of things have to happen in the summer. Bring in the right players, let the right players leave, you know, and get going and playing Jon Brady football. But like we said, I think I'm lucky. I think we're lucky that we've got Kelvin Thomas, because I think if it did go bad, he would just give him the boot and bring in a manager like Keith Curl, who will just play, you know, not nice football, but keep us up. But then again, Will Brady's football, because Dean Austin likes to play the ball on the floor, but in League Two, you just need to play, you know, crap football and then it works. You know, so, but then the Cobblers under 18s have done really well, but will it work in League Two is again another question. You know, it's not the under 18s. It's not it's not the Premier League under 18s. It's not like Man City's under 18s. It's Northampton Town's under 18. So it'll be interesting to see, and it'll be interesting to see who we sign and whatnot. So yeah, it'll just, again, it depends on the transfer budget available. I can't see them giving Brady too much money because it is kind of a risk without his experience bringing him in, but we'll have to just see what happens.
And Charles, what happens for you now? Is it a slow build back to League One? We might be there in 3 or 4 years, or we need to get back there straight away?
I think that's really difficult. I mean, don't get me wrong, I want us to be as successful as we can possibly be. So therefore, I want us back in League One. But history shows that won't be the case. I think we've only bounced back in the first season once in the entire time that I've been supporting the club. So I don't see. You can't predict the future. That's the thing, especially now, because we are going to go through another summer of complete turnover. You know, you mentioned like Kean Bolger, he's on a 1-year deal. I dare say that part of the reason why he's not played at all and hasn't, those games where Lloyd Jones has been really struggling and you're thinking to yourself, he's got to come off. Well, Kean Bolger sat on the bench. So why didn't he bring Kean Bolger on? I wonder whether there was a clause in the contract, so many appearances will give you an extra year, possibly. And that's why he never got brought on. He was literally a last ditch God moment kind of substitution that would have had to have been made. So we're going to see a lot of players, leaving. There's a lot of loan players that will obviously go straight back, and with the likes of a couple of them probably will never be seen ever again at any football club in the Football League. But there will also be a lot of the players that we obviously did have that will be either released or they'll be allowed to go and sign for someone else. I wouldn't be surprised if come August, when we're starting again, that we've got more or less a brand new first team that lines up for that first game. Albeit, Sam Hoskins will still be there, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
He'll never leave. So I just think that I personally will have patience. Like Ben talked before about how, he wants, will give 10 games, and if it's not going well, then essentially he'll want a change to be made. I think part of the issue with football fans in general is that we don't give managers any time to do it. Now, yes, okay, some managers you don't want to give time. I appreciate that there will be people that will say that, well, we should never have given Keith Curle any more time than after he'd got us, promoted. We should have said thanks very much for doing that. Now let's get somebody incapable of managing us in League One. But I mean, you can't realistically do that.
No, you can't. No,
I don't care. What people say. People live in dreamland if they think that you would actually do that in real life, because there's absolutely no way that anybody would do that in any other kind of job. So, but I do think that we're too trigger happy as football fans. We just want to, all we want is success, which is fine, absolutely. But I'm not going to be crying so much if we're not, in the top 7 after those first 10 games. Don't get me wrong, if we were bottom of the league and we'd not won a single match, then I'd be questioning what's going on and why is it that we're not doing anything to try and sort it. Literally, if it was a case of a bit like what happened with Dean Austin, where, we were playing nice, attractive football in a way, but then getting beat far too easily and not scoring enough goals. He never then changed his philosophy to try and win games. He just stuck at it, and that whole thing where I think it was Bukes that turned around and said, "Well, one day we'll batter someone." I mean, great. When was it going to come, though? That's the thing. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again, which is what Keith Curle was doing. So I think we'll see a large turnover, but we'll need to be patient. I don't think 10 games is anywhere near enough, because you are literally giving a brand new squad no time whatsoever, basically. I don't think we'll be... well, I hope to God that we won't be in danger of doing what Southend have done.
Yeah.
We're not in that much financial trouble, which is, what has caused a lot of Southend's issues. So I think we'll be okay. It's just, will we get promoted? I don't expect us to. What I want to see, though, is I want to see progression in terms of the identity of the football club moving forward in a positive manner. If we get that, then I think we'll be a success, whatever happens next year.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, like you said with Keith Cole, if I'm correct in saying, when we did go up the first 10, 15 games, we were terrible, weren't we? And there were so many people wanting Curl out, and then we kind of started winning a couple, won a few more. We got ourselves in the playoffs, and then the season got cancelled. So seeing a lot of comments about, of course, doing well next season is in chance of a striker. Every football club would love a 15-goal striker. Danny Rose potentially could be that man. He has been getting double figures consistently in League Two. Go to you next then, Josh. We'll start with Danny Rose then. Do you think, I don't think Danny Rose will necessarily leave, unless I think Jon Brady will probably keep him around. Do you think Danny Rose is our goal scorer, or do you think we probably look at getting someone else?
Again, you look at Danny Rose's record for Mansfield when he was in League Two. He was just sort of scoring goals for fun, and they weren't really going anywhere in League Two, and he was sort of scoring 15, nearing on 20 goals every season. But I just want to go back to a point that Charles made, actually, about the opinion of fans and obviously the amount of time managers get. You look at it this way. I think fans' opinions and expectations have risen so much since we won the League Two in the 15-16 season. You look at fans' expectations. A lot of fans want what happened under Chris Wilder, and I think you look at something like that was one season. You don't get seasons like that every year, and you've got to look at it in a way that you're not going to have it every year. You've got to lower your expectations a little bit, because if you just keep rising your expectations, the chairman is not going to give a manager more time. I think Ben would agree with me. When Justin Edinburgh was sacked, I don't think he was given enough time, because he only had like 4, 5, 6 games in League One the following season to try and solidify our position in League One. I don't think he was given enough time. Then you look at what happened with Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, and that ended horribly. So fans are very, very fickle sometimes when it comes to managers. Expectations is a big thing that we've got to look at as well.
Yeah, we certainly do. And like you said, it's so many fans want the Chris Wilder era back. He is out of job, so maybe he could be our new assistant manager. Do you think no, Charles? No? Assistant manager, do you think he'd fancy the return?
You're blowing the whole budget on an assistant manager there, are you, Will? We won't get any players in. We'll literally have Sam Hoskins playing on his own with a couple of youth teamers, yeah? Okay, that's fine. Yeah, no worries. No, I do think you're right, Josh, to be honest, because I think that's the thing is that 2015-16 season brought in a lot of fans, new fans to the football club. A lot of youngsters will have had that first year, or that as their first year, and so immediately they think to themselves, this is what it's like to support Northampton Town. We play brilliant football. We've got a great manager, and we've got all these players that are just lovely to watch. Ricky Holmes, Nicky Adams, that kind of thing. Well, unfortunately, the reality of being a Northampton Town fan is that kind of season happens once a decade, if you're lucky. It's potentially you're really looking at once every 30 years we'll win the league. That's what it's actually like. So I do think that expectations were raised based on that title win. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it put quite a bit of pressure on the football club and the people that run it and control the finances of it to do the right thing. They got it wrong with Rob Page. But again, they were quite... I know we all wanted him out, Rob Page, as a fan base as a whole. But it's a tough act to follow when you go from someone like Chris Wilder. It's exactly what happened to David Moyes when he took over from Fergie at United. He was never going to be able to just carry on and replicate the success that had been there for so many years. And realistically, we probably should have held on to Rob Page for a bit longer. Yeah. I don't think that season we were really in danger of going down that first season. I think the club would have been a bit more And I think Kelvin Thomas has actually openly said that he regrets not making more of the fact that we stayed in League One that first season, that time around in 2016-17. Justin Edinburgh was definitely sacked too early. That was a shock. I don't think a lot of people were expecting it to happen, but I also think that there were other factors at play with that, which is what led to Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, a name, as one of you guys mentioned before, coming in. That was at the same time that we had the, supposed Chinese takeover investment thing that did or didn't happen. I think a lot of that was actually at play for that. So I think the problem has come from that expectation being so high, and then it was impounded by the fact that we then sacked managers so quickly. Because actually, if the club had just taken their time a bit more and just slowed everything down and been more patient, then the fan base would have, some would have been calling for their head, like we saw with Keith Curle. It's another thing of the club can't win. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Some fans turned around and said that Keith Curle should have been sacked immediately after the Oxford City defeat. In hindsight, you would probably say the same thing. I would say the same thing. But the football club, Kelvin Thomas in particular, was wary of the fact that in the past he has been trigger happy. And maybe that probably fell into some of his thinking. And so he didn't. Yeah. And then what happened, he let him stay for a bit too long, or whatever happened during January didn't happen the way it should have done, whatever it was that went on. I think there's a lot of talk of fan power in the last couple of weeks after the Super League. I think fan power has always been there, especially when it comes down to managers and players as well being in the side. I feel it's quite a difficult thing to do, and we have to be quite careful sometimes as fans to, just be a little bit more patient. And I really do think that if we just maybe looked to give Brady time. I mean, the fact is that there will be loud people or people being loud on social media as soon as we lose our first game that Brady's not good enough. It's a fact of life. It's the way that football works. But we need to actually be patient and give him some time to actually implement not just Jon Brady as the manager, but this whole new way of doing things that the club are looking at going.
Well, Charles, it's been fantastic getting you on. Always good to hear your thoughts. It's taken us to the last day of the season to actually get you on, but we really appreciate just the time. So yeah, thank you very much. I'm sure it's okay, mate. I'm sure me and Will we'll get back on the pod at some point next season, and we'll definitely have you on as well post-season and beyond. So Charles, thank you very much for coming on. I'd like to say thank you to Ben and Josh for coming on as well. We've got one more very special guest who's about to come and join us, and it's James Heneghan from the Chronicle and Echoes. He's going to come and give us his thoughts from the media's point of view. So unfortunately, Charles, Josh, Ben, we're going to have to say goodbye, but thank you very much to all of you for coming on. We could chat
cheers, guys.
for hours, but we need to get James in. So thank you to the three of you. I'm going to have to press the button, unfortunately. But cheers, guys. We will see you all very soon indeed. Let's cheers, get James in then.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much for coming on.
James, where is he? Why my phone doesn't like me anymore?
You just got bad Wi-Fi. This look at this. How many people we've got? We've got 19 people in the chat. These 19 people are witnessing your poor Wi-Fi.
I know, and I've got a journalist here witnessing it.
I know we've got a chronic. Exactly.
So James is just gonna not like me. Right. I'm just really come on, James. Let's get it. How are you doing, James? Okay.
Yeah, good thanks. Don't worry about poor Wi-Fi. I've got problems here, so I do that.
No problem, mate. No problem. So you're obviously, part of the media reporting on this appointment. First of all, when did you find out that this was going to happen? Because obviously it was only announced this afternoon. When did you find out this was going to happen, and what are your thoughts on it, mate?
Well, we got a sense for it sort of earlier in the week. Really, we spoke to Kelvin on Wednesday, I think it was, and it was clear from what he was saying that there had been discussions, obviously, with Jon. And although Jon hadn't said anything, sort of, he never really committed himself to it. I think you always got a sense that he did want the job and he was interested. Obviously, there were certain things he wanted in place, and obviously we found out what that is this week. But you always felt that he did fancy the job if he got offered it. So yeah, we didn't know for sure until earlier today, but there was a strong indication earlier, sort of Wednesday, Thursday, that that's the route they were going down. Jon Brady, and yeah, I think it's a good appointment. I've thought a lot about it. And the thing is with the managerial appointment, you just never know for sure. There's no perfect candidate. There's no, every single candidate you look at on the list, there's risks with all of them. There's pros and cons with all of them. So you've just got to weigh it up. And I think with Jon, there's more pros than cons. And you tick off the things you want from a manager. You want them to play good football. You want them to be passionate and love the club. You want them to speak well. You want them to feel like the players are playing for them. Like a manager who, some managers, they don't get you off your seat, do you? Whereas I think with Jon Brady, he will give everything. Even if it doesn't work out, if it doesn't go well, it won't be for a want of trying. So yeah, I think it's a good appointment. I think it's in the situation, looking at the potential alternatives. I think he was the best choice at this time.
Well, looking at it, James, Charles isn't too happy that he's been thrown off the stream, replaced by you. But the thing I did forget to mention before Charles left was obviously go and check out his podcast. Him, Danny, and Chessie and Neil do a fantastic job on there. So wherever you get your podcast, It's All Cobblers to me is where you want to be heading. Let's get back to it then, James. In terms of next season, how do you think Brady's going to get on? What do you see, and what do you see his goals being for next season? Do you think he's going to be we need to get back into League One as soon as possible, or you think it's going to be let's just kind of slowly build and give him 2 or 3 years and get back into League One that way? What do you think?
I think the aim will be promotion, but I don't think it'll be a case of got to start all guns blazing and win first 10 games, and I think there might be a bit of a bedding in period with these changes behind the scenes as well. It's obviously not just Jon Brady; it's a bit of a shuffling behind the scenes with this new committee and all that. So I think it might just take a few months and a few weeks, especially with the summer transfer window coming up, just to bed all that in and just to get used to it. But yeah, the aim will be promotion straight away. It's not to say that it's promotion or bust, and if they don't get promoted, Jon Brady's failed and he'll be sacked. If they miss out by a point or something, then it's not to say that he won't continue, obviously. But Kelvin Thomas has already made it clear that although he would understand if it does take a bit of time, he wants to win promotion next season and go straight back up to League One, and that Jon Brady will know that as well. I'm sure he's a very ambitious guy, so he'll be the same. He'll want promotion as well, and we've heard him get so emotional and passionate this season and how much he wants the club to be a League One club. So yeah, it will be the aim promotion, but at the same time, I think just seeing progress. I think because obviously there's going to be a lot of changes, some in terms of the playing squad as well, and lots of comes and goings. So he's going to have to build his own squad. So I think more than anything, you want to see progress. You want to see clear forward steps, and if they're playing decent football, they're getting better, and they're up there challenging. I think that will constitute a good season, whether that ends in promotion or not. I just think you want to see some kind of just positive strides, and I think that would be the key.
Spoke about the playing squad.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
I was going to say I've got one final question for James that I was going to say to the end. So I was going to say, Bill, you come in. Good to see we're nice and organised here. Go on.
One question about the playing squad. Then, of course, like you said, it's probably going to be a big overhaul again this summer. Do you worry that we spoke about it over this last hour? That, of course, for example, Keith Curle, when Nicky Adams came back to the Cobblers, it was a big factor of Keith Curle, the good relationship they had. Yeah. Do you worry that, of course, with Jon Brady now in charge, it'll be hard to attract players back to the Cobblers? Yeah,
I've seen a few people say that, and I think a lot of it depends on who they appoint as the head of recruitment, and also they're going to bring in a new assistant manager for Jon Brady. I guess that'll be someone with a bit of experience who will have a few contacts within the game. So yeah, I mean, I can understand that argument, and that is a possibility, I guess. But at the same time, I think Jon will have ideas of how he wants to construct a squad, because the squad now I don't think really suits the way he wants to play. So I think he will enjoy the fact that it's a clean slate almost this summer. There's numerous players out of contract. Obviously, 5 loan players will be going back to their parent club. So he's going to pretty much be building a squad from scratch. There's going to be a handful of players who will probably stay on, but otherwise, it's going to be a new squad. And I think, although that might mean it needs a bit of time to bed in next season, I think it'll be a good thing in the long run, because he's going to want a squad to suit how he wants to go about it, how he wants to play. And I wouldn't be too concerned about attracting players. I think Northampton are, especially now they're a League Two club and they're going into that pool of players for League Two clubs. They're one of the bigger League Two clubs, you would say.
Yeah.
Whereas when you go up to League One, you've got so many big clubs in that league.
Yeah.
So trying to attract players when you're going up against the likes of Ipswich and Portsmouth and Sunderland and the likes is very difficult, and that's why they missed out on quite a few players last summer. But this year they'll be going for a different level of player, and I think that will benefit them, and that will cancel out the sort of Keith Cole, Jon Brady effect, if you like. And I think I wouldn't worry about that personally.
Good stuff. Well, James, thanks very much for joining us. Just one last question from me. It's kind of about what you've been doing in terms of the fact that your job allows you to be able to I would say you're lucky that you're able to go to these games, but this season you probably haven't been that lucky in terms of the way we've been playing on the pitch. But obviously you've been in the fantastic position of the fact that your work involves you going to games and stuff like that. Just for everyone at home and for me and Will as well, just give us a sense of what it's like going to these games. And obviously you've been to some fantastic venues as well. I assume you went to Wembley last season. You've probably been up to Hull this year, Sunderland tomorrow, for example, as well. So just give us a sense of what that's like.
Yeah, you're right. I do feel very fortunate and very, very privileged to have this opportunity, because it's not the same. You go to these grounds and home games as well, and it's all a bit. To start with, it was very weird, very eerie, just an odd feeling, really.
Yeah.
Not necessarily even being in the stadium, just walking up to the stadiums, and it's so quiet, and the roads are so quiet, and it is very unusual, and it did take a bit of getting used to. But yeah, I mean, I think when you really notice it is when you're watching a game in an empty stadium and the referee makes a bad decision, and you're just waiting for that outrage, that raw, and it never comes, and it's really, really weird. You just never get used to that, because you're waiting for the, certain words to be said, and it's just silence, and it is odd.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think I know this season has obviously not gone to plan for Northampton, but it's just been nice to have something on, to have distraction, because obviously the last year or so has been difficult for a lot of people, and I'm glad they managed to. I think the authorities deserve a lot of credit for getting the season on and getting it played. And obviously the final game of the season tomorrow, so we're going to complete it. So yeah, I do feel fortunate, and I'm very much looking forward to, even though it'll be back in League Two, I'm very much looking forward to hopefully fans back next season and somewhere back to normal, and hopefully a good season.
Good stuff. Well, James, thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate you taking 10-15 minutes out of your Saturday evening to come and speak to us, and we'll hopefully get you on in post-season and beyond as well, like we said with Charles. So thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Cheers, James.
So yeah,
Cheers,
that's going to be pretty much it from us for today's episode. Really brilliant to get an hour and 10 minutes of reaction of Wow. What an hour it's been. It's absolutely flown by. We've had fans on, we've had podcasters, we've had James on as well, so it's been really good. You've heard everybody's thoughts. Has your mind been changed? I mean, most of them, James was kind of the only one who gave a positive reaction to it, as well as George when he came on.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it? It's still raw, isn't it? We've just, it's only been an hour, probably 2 hours now since we've been, since we've known. And yeah, it'll be interesting, to see what happens. And there's a lot of things that are going to have to go into play and whatnot. And, looking forward to next season. And I just everyone wants Brady to do well, and everyone wants Brady to do well. And let's just hope he does start, like when Ben came on and he said, if he doesn't do well in 10 games, give him the sack. I don't think we should. I think we should give him time, because if we went off that mentality, we would have sacked Keith Cole. And to be honest, even Wilder, I bet Wilder had a first bad 10 games before we even won that league. So, give him time. It looks like it's going to be that kind of that restructuring of the club. And And at the end of the day, if we are doing really, really bad, then we will, Kelvin Thomas is not silly. He will just sack him, and we'll bring in one of them, as Charles, I can't remember what the word Charles used, but one of them managers is always looping around and will just come in, get us 40 points and keep us up. So yeah, it's been a good one. And again, massive thank you everyone for tuning into the stream. And we got quite a good reaction with so many fans coming on and whatnot. So it was good to get a kind of a diverse reaction from James, who's the media, to Charles, who did the podcast, and then hearing some fans as well. So yeah, really good to get everyone on board.
Yeah, I think my final thoughts are I'm still not sure about it. James kind of gave us a good positive kind of vibe there. There was a lot discussed about it, and we could be still sat here, at 10 o'clock tonight, with everybody on discussing, what's gone on. I don't think we need to make a video about it now, because I think we've pretty much covered it.
No, yeah, literally, as soon as it come out, I'll start recording, and then went, hang on, no, let's just go live.
But we've had 20, we've had points where there's been 30, 40 people in the chat, which has been absolutely fantastic. So thank you to everybody. Our regular subscribers, we've noticed you in the comments. You Luke,
we have,
you Adam Page. Everybody that's always here, George as well, who obviously came on. We've noticed you. We know you're still there. And thank you to all of our new subscribers. Luke has just commented that we've gained some subscribers, which we'll have a look at the data after this and see that, hopefully. So thank you to everybody that's tuned in. I hope you're all Cobblers fans. I assume you probably are all Cobblers fans. But yeah, it's been fantastic. A great hour of chat to talk about Jon Brady being appointed as manager. My final thing, congratulations to Jon is the main thing. I'm going to pop him a message after the stream's over and say, congratulations to him. Really, really good to see, my old football coach becoming manager of the Cobblers. So yeah, fair play to Jon. I'm not sure if it's the right decision, but I think we're going to see that. We're going to find out. What the effects of that decision are going to be in very, very short term. Sorry, I've just received a message. Will, right. I'm just going to have a look at that message. Any kind of final thoughts from you, mate?
Yeah, no, all good. All good. The only one annoying thing is, of course, back in the studios on Monday morning with some fans, and luckily, because we can only have two guests in the studios because of COVID. They're coming in the morning, and my aim was to kind of get some pre-recorded interviews of people who couldn't come because of the COVID rules. I did a pre-recording this morning and spoke about whether Jon Brady should be given the job or not. So now I'm going to have to probably going to have to message him and ask if we can redo the interview, because of course now Brady's been given the job. So yeah, but no, it's good. It'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow with Sunderland. I wouldn't take Sunderland into account. We're probably going to get smashed 3-0. Get on with it, move on with it, and then looking forward to an exciting summer. And yeah, let's just see what happens next season, eh?
Great stuff. Well, thank you very much to everybody who's watched. Paul Evans has just told us he subscribed, so thank you very much, Paul. Yes. Thank you to anybody else that was a Cobblers fan that subscribed to us as well. Really, really appreciate your support, and stick with us as well. We've got loads of post-season content. We're going to look back at the season, what went wrong, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to do a video on my retain list. Who would I keep? Who would I get rid of? Paul Evans has followed up his sub comment saying that Sunderland are going to win 8-0 tomorrow. Which
if they win 8-0, then yeah, well, we'll delete the channel.
Delete the channel, yeah. We've said that now, so I hope it doesn't happen. So yeah, loads coming up from us post-season. I obviously predicted the League One table at the start of the season. Going to react to that. I've got my retain list to talk about as well. Will's going to come on and do some stuff as well. We'll get some more streams like this where we get guests on. We really, really enjoy that stuff, and it was great to get Josh and Ben on, two Cobblers fans as well as Charles and James. So yeah, fantastic. Thank you very much to everybody who's joined us throughout the stream, whether you've come on to give us our views, whether you've come on to speak on the stream, that's what I meant to say, whether you've been in the comments giving your opinion, or whether you've just been watching along wherever you are in the world of Northampton. So yeah, thanks very much everybody. Please hit the like button, please hit subscribe, and until next time, we will see you all later.
Cheers, guys.